falling for the werewolf mom who hunts in my dreams. The silence in the apartment was heavy enough to crush a lesser man. Desmond sat on the edge of his mattress, his fingers digging into the fabric of a blanket that had been unraveling for a decade. The silk of his pajamas offered a cool contrast to the feverish heat radiating from his skin, but comfort was a distant memory. He blinked, fighting the grit in his eyes. The digital clock on the nightstand read 03:00. It was the witching hour for most, but for him, it was the commute to a second life.
You look like death warmed over.
Desmond did not jump. He had not heard the door open, but Grant had a habit of materializing whenever Desmond's vitals looked particularly grim. Grant stood in the doorway, leaning against the frame with a look of genuine concern etched into his features.
I am fine. Just insomnia.
Insomnia does not make a man look like he is fading out of existence. I can practically see the wall through your shoulder. You are not sleeping, Des. You are going somewhere else.
Desmond tightened his grip on the blanket. Grant was sharper than people gave him credit for. He noticed things. He noticed the way Desmond's breathing changed when he drifted off, not slowing down but sinking with a rhythm that did not belong to this room.
It is just dreams, Grant. Vivid ones. I wake up more tired than when I went to sleep.
Maybe you should see a doctor. Or a priest. You have that look again. The haunted one.
Desmond forced a smile that felt like cracking plaster. He could not tell Grant the truth. How could he explain that the exhaustion came from running through a forest that did not exist on any star chart? How could he explain the pull in his chest, a magnetic hook dragging him toward a specific pair of green eyes?
I just need to lie down. Close the door on your way out.
All right. But if you are not up by noon, I am pouring ice water on you. I mean it.
The door clicked shut. Desmond exhaled, the sound rattling in his chest. He swung his legs up onto the bed and pulled the worn blanket to his chin. It was his anchor. Without it, he feared he might drift off during the transition and end up in the void between worlds. He closed his eyes. The darkness behind his eyelids was not empty. It swirled with colors that had no names in the waking world. He focused on the sensation of falling, of his body becoming light, of the room dissolving into mist. The shift was instantaneous and violent. One moment he was lying on a spring mattress in the city. The next, the air was cold and smelled of pine needles and static electricity. Desmond opened his eyes. He was standing on a floor of moss that gave slightly under his bare feet, pulsing with a faint, rhythmic silver light. He was in Somnium. The trees here were not made of wood and bark. They were columns of solidified shadow, stretching up into a sky that lacked a sun but burned with the light of 1,000 nebulae. The leaves were shards of crystal that chimed when the wind blew, creating a melody that vibrated in his teeth. Desmond took a breath, testing the air. It was richer here, heavy with oxygen and something wilder.
Show yourself.
His voice did not sound like the raspy whisper of the man in the apartment. Here he was strong. His voice carried power, echoing through the silver forest like a challenge. He waited. The shadows between the trees began to shift, coalescing into a form that was both terrifying and beautiful. A massive creature stepped into the clearing. She moved with a predatory liquid grace, her paws silent on the glowing moss. Her fur was a vibrant, impossible red, shimmering as if lit from within. It was not the red of blood, but the red of a dying star. She stopped 10 paces from him. Her eyes were the color of emeralds, sharp and filled with a startlingly human intelligence. They locked onto his, pinning him in place. Long blonde hair flowed from her head, cascading over her lupin shoulders and clashing magnificently with the red fur. It was a chaotic mix of human and beast, a chimera born of subconscious desire. She wore robes of gossamer fabric that drifted around her massive form like smoke in a windless room. The fabric did not seem to touch her fur, hovering just millimeters above the red pelt.
Are you real or just another trick of this place?
He stepped forward. The fear that should have paralyzed him was absent. Instead, he felt a surge of adrenaline, a recognition that went deeper than memory. This was the hunter he had been sensing for weeks. This was the presence that watched him from the edge of his vision. The woman-beast lowered her head, her ears twitching. Her muzzle parted, revealing teeth that could snap bone like dry twigs. But when she spoke, the sound was not a growl. It was a low, melodic purr that resonated deep in his chest, vibrating against his ribs.
I am as real as the breath you draw.
The voice was familiar. It tugged at a string in his mind, a memory he could not quite place. Desmond stopped just within reach of her. He could smell her now, a scent of wildflowers and rain, starkly at odds with her monstrous appearance.
You have been waiting for me.
I have been waiting for someone who does not run.
She took a step closer, closing the distance. She towered over him, easily 7 feet tall at the shoulder, yet she moved with a delicacy that belied her size. She lowered her face toward him, the green eyes inspecting him with an intensity that stripped away his defenses.
Why here? Why this place?
Because this is the only place where the cages are open. In the light, we are bound by shapes and names. Here, we are what we hide.
Desmond reached out. His hand trembled, not from fear, but from the sheer electric potential of the moment. He wanted to touch the red fur, to verify the reality of the creature standing before him.
Be careful. The link is strong tonight. If you touch me, you may not want to leave.
I am already tired of leaving.
He pressed his palm against her cheek. The fur was incredibly soft, softer than the silk he wore in the other world. Beneath the fur, he felt the solid warmth of muscle and bone, the rapid thrum of a heart beating in time with his own. Rhiannon leaned into his touch, her eyes slipping shut. A low sound escaped her throat, half sigh, half whimper. The vulnerability of the gesture was shocking, coming from a creature of such power.
You feel it too. The bridge.
I feel like I have been holding my breath for 20 years, and I just exhaled.
The forest around them seemed to react to the contact. The silver light in the moss flared brighter, and the crystal leaves overhead rang out a harmonious chord. The dimension of Somnium was not a passive backdrop. It was alive, and it was celebrating the connection.
This world is dangerous, little dreamer. It feeds on emotion. If we stay like this, it will consume us.
Let it try.
He looked up into her opening eyes. The green was swirling now, flecks of gold appearing in the iris. He saw a sadness there, a profound loneliness that mirrored his own.
You do not know who I am. If you saw me in the waking world, you would walk past me without a glance.
I doubt that. I would know these eyes anywhere.
Rhiannon pulled back slightly, breaking the physical contact but leaving the psychic connection blazing. She paced around him, her gossamer robes trailing through the air, leaving faint ripples in reality.
You are wronged. The waking world is a mask. I wear mine tightly. I am invisible there. A ghost in a house of noise. But here I can run.
Then let's run.
He gestured to the endless expanse of the star forest. He did not know the rules of this place, but he knew he did not want to stand still. He wanted to see what she could do. He wanted to see the wolf in motion.
You cannot keep up with me.
Try me.
A grin spread across her lupin features, terrifying and dazzling. She crouched low, her muscles coiling like springs.
Catch me if you can, Desmond.
She launched herself forward, a streak of red fire against the silver shadows. Desmond did not hesitate. He sprinted after her, and as he ran, the physics of somnium bent around him. His strides lengthened, gravity loosening its hold. He was not just running, he was hunting, and for the first time in his life, he knew exactly what he was chasing. The fluorescent lights of the diner clicked and buzzed with a rhythmic persistence that felt like a hammer against the inside of Desmond's skull. He stared into his mug, where the black coffee had long since gone cold, forming a stagnant, oily film on the surface.
You are doing it again, Desmond. You are staring at that cup like it contains the secrets of the universe.
Desmond blinked, the silver trees of somnium still burnt into his retinas. He looked at his hands. They were pale and trembling slightly, a stark contrast to the strength he felt when he ran through the star forest.
He is not really here, Sloane. Look at the dark circles under his eyes. He is somewhere about 3 galaxies away.
I am fine. I just did not sleep well. The coffee is not doing its job today.
You have been saying that for weeks. You look like you are being hollowed out from the inside.
Grant leaned forward, his face etched with a concern that made Desmond feel a sharp pang of guilt. Grant was a good friend, a man who valued reality and the tangible world. He did not know that his best friend was spending his nights in the arms of a dream.
If you are sick, you need to see someone. This is not just insomnia. You look like you are fading out of the room.
It is just a phase. I will catch up on sleep this weekend.
He pushed his plate away, the smell of grease and burnt toast feeling offensive after the crisp, ethereal air of the other world. His appetite had vanished the moment he woke up.
It is the strangest thing. My mother has been acting exactly the same way lately.
Desmond's heart skipped a beat. He forced his expression to remain neutral, but his pulse began to race against his ribs.
Rhiannon, what do you mean?
She is distant. She walks through the house in those long, flowing robes she loves, but she does not seem to see anything. I spoke to her for 10 minutes this morning about the grocery list, and she just stared at the window. When she finally looked at me, her eyes were different.
Different how?
Greener, brighter, like there was a fire burning behind them. She looks younger, too. But she is exhausted, just like you, Des.
Desmond gripped the edge of the laminate table until his knuckles turned white. The realization hit him like a physical blow. The woman in the forest, the red-furred hunter with the emerald eyes, was not a figment of his imagination. She was Rhiannon. She was his friend's mother.
Does she say where she goes when she is like that?
She says she is just dreaming. But she calls it a place. She mentioned a forest once. A forest made of silver moss.
The confirmation sent a jolt of electricity through Desmond's nervous system. The psychic link was not just a bridge to a dream. It was a bridge to another living soul on his own planet.
Maybe you too are sharing some kind of weird psychological connection. It happens with people who are close.
I think I need to go home.
Already. You haven't touched your breakfast.
I just need to lie down, Grant. My head is spinning.
He stood up, his legs feeling heavy and clumsy. He needed to get back. He needed to find her and confirm what he now knew to be true. The drive back to his apartment was a blur of gray streets and mundane traffic. Everything in the waking world felt muted, a dull imitation of the vibrancy he found in sleep. He reached his door, fumbled with the keys, and threw himself onto the bed. He pulled the worn blanket over his shoulders, the silk of his pajamas cool against his skin. He did not fight the darkness this time. He chased it with everything he had. The transition was a sudden rush of cold air and the scent of crushed mint. He opened his eyes to the silver moss of somnium. The sky was a deep violet, filled with stars that seemed close enough to touch. He stood up, his body feeling light and powerful once again. He did not have to wait long. A flash of red moved through the trees, and then she was there, standing on a ridge of crystal rock above him. Rhiannon looked down at him, her green eyes shimmering with an intensity that stole his breath. She was the wolf, and she was the woman, a perfect blend of grace and predatory power.
Rhiannon.
The name vibrated through the air, causing the crystal leaves nearby to chime. The wolf woman froze, her ears twitching. She leaped down from the ridge, landing silently in the moss before him.
You spoke my name. You brought the waking world into this sanctuary.
I had to. I know who you are now. I know, Grant.
She recoiled as if he had struck her. Her long blonde hair whipped around her lupin face as she shook her head.
You were not supposed to find out. This place was meant to be our secret. A place where the masks do not matter.
The mask is what matters, Rhiannon. You are hiding from your life. You are hiding from your own son.
I am not hiding. I am living for the first time in years. In the world you know, I am a widow who fades into the wallpaper. I am a mother who is expected to be soft and quiet. But here I am the huntress.
She stepped closer, her height intimidating, but her gaze was searching and filled with a sudden, sharp vulnerability.
You can be both. You do not have to choose between being a ghost and being a beast.
You do not understand the weight of the link, Desmond. We are connected by more than just dreams. Our souls are weaving together. If you know my name, the bridge becomes a permanent path.
I want the path. I am tired of being alone in my own head.
He reached out and placed his hand on her shoulder. The red fur was warm, and he could feel the powerful muscles beneath. A surge of emotion flowed through the contact, a mixture of her loneliness and his longing.
Grant would not understand. He sees the mother he wants me to be. He does not see the wolf inside me.
Grant loves you. And I am falling for every part of you, whether you are here or in the world we left behind.
Rhiannon's breath hitched in her throat. She shifted, her form flickering for a moment. The red fur seemed to soften into pale human skin, before snapping back to her powerful lupin form. The dimension was reacting to her inner turmoil.
The link is deepening. I can feel your thoughts as clearly as my own now. You are thinking about the diner. You are thinking about the grey sky.
I am thinking about how much better this feels.
He moved his hand from her shoulder to her cheek, his thumb brushing the soft fur beneath her eye. She leaned into the touch, a low, melodic sound vibrating in her chest.
It is dangerous to love a creature of somnium, Desmond. This world feeds on what we give it. If we give it our hearts, it may never let us go.
Then let it keep us. I would rather be here with you than anywhere else.
She looked at him with a sudden, fierce protectiveness. She grabbed his wrists, her grip firm but careful.
No, you have a life to live. You cannot fade away just for me.
I was already fading before I met you. You are the only thing making me feel solid.
The stars above them flared with a sudden, brilliant golden light. The pool of liquid starlight nearby began to overflow, the glowing silver water creeping toward their feet.
The dimension is changing. Our connection is altering the landscape of this world.
Is that a bad thing?
It means we are no longer guests here. We are becoming part of the world itself.
She pulled him toward the water. As their feet touched the glowing liquid, a wave of euphoria washed over Desmond. He saw flashes of her life, her joys, her fears, and the moment she first discovered this place. He felt her love for her son, and the suffocating pressure of trying to be normal when she felt so much more.
I see you, Rhiannon. I see all of you.
And I see the man who is brave enough to hunt in his sleep.
She leaned down, her face inches from his. The scent of her was like wild clover in starlight.
If we stay like this, the waking world will start to feel like the dream. Are you prepared for that?
I have been ready since the moment I saw your eyes.
She pressed her forehead against his. The psychic bridge solidified, a golden light erupting between them that drowned out the silver forest. For a moment they were not man and wolf, but two sparks of light in a vast, beautiful void. The warmth was absolute. It was the feeling of coming home after a lifetime of wandering. Desmond felt his exhaustion vanish, replaced by a surge of vitality that belonged to both of them.
We are bound now, little dreamer.
Good. Do not let go.
The world around them began to swirl, the colors of somnium mixing with the memories of the waking world. The diner, the apartment, and the forest all became one singular reality. Desmond felt the pull of the morning sun, but for the first time, he did not fear the awakening. He knew that when he opened his eyes, the connection would remain. The wolf would still be there, and so would the woman who had finally been found. The golden light between them pulsed like a second heart. The silver forest of somnium began to ripple, the trees losing their solid edges and turning into streaks of liquid mercury.
Do you feel that? The air is changing.
It feels like the world is holding its breath.
Rhiannon gripped his shoulders, her claws pressing gently into his silk pajamas. Her green eyes were wide with a sudden, sharp clarity.
My mind has kept this place stable for decades. I built these trees from my silence. I grew this grass from the things I could never say to Grant or the people on the colony of Alindra.
You created all of this.
A jagged crack appeared in the velvet sky, leaking a harsh, white light that did not belong in the dream.
Not intentionally. It was a reflex. A psychic cocoon for a woman who felt like a predator among sheep. But our connection is pulling the veil aside.
Then let it fall. We do not need to hide anymore.
Rhiannon shook her head, her blonde hair catching the dying silver light.
It is not that simple. If the cocoon breaks before I am ready to be whole, there will be nothing left of me. This world is not just a dream, Desmond. It is my life force.
What are you saying?
A sudden tremor shook the ground. A massive tree of spun silver splintered at the base, crashing down with the sound of shattering glass. The impact sent a shockwave through the moss, knocking Desmond to his knees. He scrambled up, his silk pajamas stained with the glowing residue of the dying dream.
It is beginning. The collapse.
She backed away, her massive paw splashing into a pool of liquid starlight that was rapidly turning to sludge. The vibrant red of her fur began to dull, washing out into a sickly gray. The sky above them, once a comforting velvet, tore open further. It was not just light leaking in now. It was a void, a nothingness that threatened to erase everything it touched.
We have to go. Now.
I told you, Desmond. I cannot just walk out of here. This place is woven into my neural pathways. If I sever the connection while the construct is unstable, my mind will shatter. I will be a vegetable in that colony bed.
The ground beneath them groaned, a deep, tectonic sound that vibrated in Desmond's teeth. He looked at the woman he had fallen for, this magnificent, terrified creature who had built a cage out of paradise to keep her own demons at bay.
Then we stabilize it. We hold it together long enough to cross the bridge.
You do not understand physics or psionics. You are a dreamer, not an engineer.
I am the man who found you when no one else could. That has to count for something.
Another tree fell, this one closer. The branches dissolved into smoke before they hit the ground. The reality of somnium was evaporating. Desmond felt a sharp pain in his chest, a physical yank that had nothing to do with the falling forest. It was a lifeline from the waking world, jerking him back. In the dim light of Desmond's apartment, the scene was chaotic. Grant stood over the bed, his knuckles white as he gripped Desmond's shoulder. Sloane was on the phone, her voice rising in panic as she argued with emergency services.
Desmond, wake up. You are convulsing, man.
His temperature is spiking. It is like he is burning up from the inside.
Grant shook him again, harder this time. Desmond's physical body thrashed, his hands gripping the sheets as if he were hanging off a cliff edge.
Come on, Des. Do not do this. Do not check out on me.
Back in the crumbling forest, the echo of Grant's voice boomed like thunder from the torn sky. Desmond looked up, recognizing the fear in his friend's tone. It was a tether, a reminder of the life he was risking, but he could not follow it yet. Not alone.
Your body is rejecting the link. You are dying out there.
I am not leaving without you.
He stepped toward her, ignoring the ground that was turning to quicksand beneath his feet. Rhiannon growled, a low defensive sound. Her form flickered violently. One moment she was the towering wolf, the next she was a human woman in torn robes, shivering in the cold wind of the void. Then she was the beast again, teeth bared in terror.
Look at me. I am unstable. I am a monster. This is why I hid. This is why I left Alindra in my mind before I ever left it in my body.
You are not a monster. You are a mother. You are a survivor. And you are the most beautiful thing I have ever seen.
He reached her, grabbing the thick fur of her neck just as she shifted back into human form. His hands landed on her bare shoulders. She felt solid, real, and incredibly warm. The chaos of the dissolving world swirled around them, a hurricane of memories and regrets.
Grant will never forgive me. I abandoned him to live in a fantasy.
He is calling for you right now. He is terrified he is going to lose me, but if he knew you were here, he would tear this sky down himself to get to you.
Rhiannon looked up at the jagged crack in the sky. The white light was blinding now, erasing the stars. The silver forest was gone, replaced by a swirling gray mist. They were standing on a precipice of remaining will.
I am afraid, Desmond.
Good. Fear keeps you sharp. Use it.
He pulled the worn blanket from his shoulders, the mental projection he had carried into the dream, and wrapped it around her. It was a small, ridiculous gesture against the end of a world, but it held. The fabric did not dissolve. It anchored her.
Focus on the sensation of the silk. Focus on the smell of the coffee in the diner. Focus on my voice.
Rhiannon closed her eyes. Her breathing hitched, then slowed. The flickering stopped. She remained in her human form, though the shadow of the wolf loomed large behind her, a guardian spirit rather than a cage.
I can feel the bridge. It is brittle.
We run across it. Together.
The ground beneath their feet gave way completely. They were falling into the white void, suspended only by the grip they had on each other. The sensation was not like falling in a dream, where you wake up before you hit the bottom. This was visceral. The wind roared in their ears, sounding like the engine of a starship pushing past critical velocity.
Do not let go.
Never.
In the apartment, the vitals monitor on Desmond's wristwatch screamed a high-pitched warning. Sloane dropped the phone.
Grant, his heart stopped.
No. Des.
Grant slammed his fist into Desmond's chest, a desperate, uncoordinated attempt at CPR. The room seemed to stretch, the shadows in the corners lengthening as if the apartment itself was trying to pull Desmond into the dark. In the space between worlds, Desmond felt the impact of Grant's fist as a dull thud against his ribs. It gave him a focal point, a destination. He squeezed Rhiannon's hand so hard he thought he might crush her bones.
We are crossing. Now.
He pulled her close, burying his face in her neck. He smelled the wild clover and the static of the storm, but underneath it, he smelled something else. He smelled the sterile air of a colony ship. He smelled the perfume she must have worn years ago. He smelled the reality of her.
I am coming home.
The white light swallowed them whole. It burned away the gray mist. It burned away the silver trees. It burned away the fear. There was a moment of absolute silence, a singularity where neither the dream nor the waking world existed. Just the two of them, suspended in the amber of a shared soul. Then the universe snapped back into place. Desmond gasped, his back arching off the mattress as air flooded his starving lungs. The scream that tore from his throat was raw and primal.
He is back. He is breathing.
Desmond collapsed back onto the sweat-soaked sheets, his chest heaving. The room spun wildly. Colors were too bright. Sounds were too loud. He blinked, trying to clear the afterimage of the silver forest from his retinas.
Jesus, Desmond. You were gone. You were actually gone.
Desmond ignored them. He scrambled to sit up, his limbs feeling heavy and uncoordinated, like a diver returning to gravity after months in zero-G. He grabbed Grant's shirt, pulling him down.
The car. We need the car.
Whoa, Izzy. You just died for 10 seconds. You are not going anywhere.
Your mother. Rhiannon.
Grant froze. The color drained from his face. He looked at Sloane, then back at Desmond. The intensity in Desmond's eyes was not the delirium of a sick man. It was the absolute certainty of a man on a mission.
What about her?
She is waking up. She is coming back, Grant. But she is going to be confused, and she is going to be scared. We have to be there.
Desmond, she lives across town. It is 4 a.m.
I do not care what time it is.
He pushed himself off the bed, his legs wobbling but holding. He grabbed his keys from the nightstand, his fingers trembling.
I promised her I would be there when she opened her eyes. I am not breaking that promise.
Grant watched him for a second, seeing the raw desperation. He sighed, the worry in his face shifting to resolve. He grabbed the keys from Desmond's hand.
You are in no condition to drive. I will take us. But you better explain everything on the way.
Desmond nodded, leaning heavily against the doorframe. The psychic link was quiet now, a dormant pulse in the back of his mind. But it was there. He could feel her heart beating in time with his own, miles away. The dream was over. The hunt was just beginning.
Let's go. She is waiting.
They moved out into the cool night air, the city lights of the colony flickering like the stars of a dead forest. Desmond looked up at the sky. It was dark and empty, void of the silver magic he had grown to love. But as he slid into the passenger seat, he knew he would trade 1,000 magical forests for the chance to see her real eyes in the morning sun. The engine roared to life, cutting through the silence of the sleeping city.
This better not be a fever dream, Des.
It is the most real thing that has ever happened to us. Drive.
As the car sped down the empty highway, Desmond closed his eyes. He reached out with his mind, searching for that familiar warmth. Faintly, weakly, he felt a response. A sense of confusion, of cold sheets and stiff muscles, but also a sense of hope. She was there. She had made the jump. The tires of the sedan screeched against the pavement, as Grant took the corner with a reckless abandon that matched the storm in Desmond's chest. The residential district of the Alundra colony was a blur of steel-gray structures and artificial lawns. Desmond leaned his forehead against the cool glass of the window, his eyes searching the darkness for a house he had never visited but knew by heart.
Take the next left. The one with the white fence.
I know where my own mother lives, Des. Just try to keep your heart inside your chest. You are still pale as a ghost.
Desmond did not answer. He was too busy managing the riot of sensations flooding his mind. The psychic link was no longer a thin wire. It had become a roaring river. He could feel Rhiannon's disorientation, the way her skin felt too tight for her bones, and the sharp, cold air of the waking world hitting her lungs for the first time in years of mental absence.
We are here. Look at the porch.
Grant slammed the brakes, and the car skidded to a halt in front of a modest home. The front door was wide open, spilling a rectangle of warm, yellow light onto the driveway. Standing in the center of that light was a woman. She was draped in a flowing robe of gossamer fabric that moved with a life of its own, swirling around her ankles like the silver mist of the forest they had just escaped.
Rhiannon.
He did not wait for the car to settle. He threw the door open and stumbled out, his silk pajamas damp with the sweat of his near-death experience. His bare feet hit the gravel, but he felt no pain. He only felt the magnetic pull of the green eyes watching him from the porch. Rhiannon stepped down the first stair. Her long blonde hair was a tangled mane, catching the artificial glow of the street lamps. She looked fragile yet formidable, her posture carrying the ghost of the predatory grace she had possessed in the dreamscape. When her gaze met Desmond's, the air between them seemed to vibrate with a sudden, electric charge.
You are reals. I thought the light would take you away.
I told you I would catch you. I told you I would be here when you opened your eyes.
He reached the base of the steps and stopped. He was terrified that touching her would shatter the reality they had fought so hard to reach. Rhiannon reached out, her fingers trembling as she brushed the dark circles beneath his eyes. Her touch was warm, solid, and smelled faintly of pine needles and rain.
You look so tired, my brave hunter.
I have been running a long way to find you.
Behind them, Grant and Sloane climbed out of the car. Grant stood by the hood, his expression a chaotic mix of relief and profound confusion. He looked at his mother, then at his best friend, seeing the way they leaned into each other as if they were the only two people left on the planet.
Mom, is it really you? You are actually looking at me.
Rhiannon turned her head slightly, her green eyes softening as they landed on her son. She reached out her other hand, beckoning him forward. The wolf-like intensity in her gaze remained, but it was tempered by a mother's profound tenderness.
Come here, Grant. I have been lost in the woods for a long time, but Desmond brought me home.
Grant walked up the steps, his movements hesitant. He took his mother's hand, his eyes shimmering with unshed tears. For years, he had watched her fade into a shell of herself, her mind drifting in a sea of psychic static. Seeing her present, her eyes bright and focused, was a miracle he had stopped praying for.
I do not understand any of this. The things Desmond was saying about a forest and a link.
It is a long story, my son. It is a story about the parts of ourselves we are too afraid to show the world. But I am not hiding anymore.
Sloane stayed by the car, watching the reunion with a quiet smile. She knew she was witnessing something that defied the logic of the colony's scientists. This was not just a medical recovery. It was a soul-level integration.
We should get them inside. The neighbors are starting to peek through their blinds.
Desmond helped Rhiannon back into the house, his arm wrapped firmly around her waist. As they stepped into the living room, he felt the psychic link settle into a steady, rhythmic pulse. The frantic energy of the hunt was gone, replaced by a deep, abiding warmth that anchored him to the floor. They sat together on a worn velvet sofa. Rhiannon leaned her head on Desmond's shoulder, her blonde hair spilling over his silk pajamas. The transition was not perfect. She still looked at the corners of the room as if expecting shadows to jump out, and Desmond still flinched at loud noises, but they were together.
Can you still feel it? The forest.
It is fading. The trees are gone, and the silver pool has dried up. But the strength I found there is still in my blood. I do not feel like a monster anymore, Desmond. I just feel like me.
She looked at her hands, flexed them, and then looked at Grant, who was sitting in an armchair across from them. She was no longer just the woman who hunted in dreams. She was a mother, a neighbor, and a survivor.
You were never a monster. You were just waiting for someone to see the truth.
And you did. You died for a moment, just to make sure I did not have to be alone in the dark.
Desmond tightened his grip on her hand. He thought about the silk pajamas he was wearing and the worn blanket back at his apartment. He thought about the dark circles under his eyes and the way his life had felt like a series of empty rooms before he met the red wolf in the woods.
I would do it again every night if I had to.
Grant stood up and walked over, placing a hand on Desmond's shoulder. There was no judgment in his eyes, only a deep, masculine respect. He realized that his friend had not been losing his mind. He had been saving his mother's soul.
I think I owe you a lot more than a cup of coffee, Des.
Just take care of her while I sleep for 3 days straight.
We will take care of each other.
The sun began to rise over the horizon of Alundra, sending streaks of gold and orange through the windows. The light was harsh and real, lacking the ethereal glow of the dream world, but it was beautiful. It illuminated the dust motes in the air and the tired, happy faces of the people in the room. Rhiannon leaned over and kissed Desmond's cheek. It was a simple gesture, free of magic or psychic weight, but it grounded him more than any dream ever could. The hunt was over. The connection remained.
We are finally awake.
Yes. And the morning is just beginning.
Desmond closed his eyes, not to return to a silver forest, but to simply rest in the quiet safety of the present. He could feel her heart beating in perfect time with his own. There were no more shadows to chase and no more secrets to keep. They were two souls who had found a bridge across the impossible, and as the colony stirred to life around them, they finally let go of the dream to embrace the world. 2 days later, the silence in the guest room of the colony house was not heavy or crushing. It was the peaceful, restorative silence of a sanctuary. Desmond opened his eyes and stared at the ceiling, waiting for the familiar dread of the witching hour to settle in, but it never came. The digital clock read 10:00 a.m. He had slept for nearly 48 hours, dreamless and deep, anchored to the bed by sheer exhaustion and the absence of the psychic pull that had once dragged him into the silver forest.
I am still here.
He sat up, stretching arms that no longer felt like lead. The silk pajamas were wrinkled, and he needed a shower, but for the first time in years, he felt a surge of genuine energy. He swung his legs out of bed and walked to the window. Alundra was bright outside, the colony bustling with the midday trade, but the world didn't look gray anymore. It looked like a place worth living in. He followed the scent of bacon and strong coffee down the hallway. The house, which Grant had described as a mausoleum of silence for the last 5 years, was alive with sound. Pans clattered, music hummed from a datapad, and voices bounced off the walls.
You cannot put that much cayenne in eggs, Mom. You are going to kill Sloane.
Sloane has a strong constitution. Besides, we need heat. We have been cold for too long.
I will eat it. If Desmond survived the psychic death dream, I can survive spicy eggs.
Desmond stepped into the kitchen. The domesticity of the scene hit him harder than the surrealism of Somnium ever had. Rhiannon stood at the stove, no longer wearing gossamer robes or shifting into a wolf, but wearing jeans and a flannel shirt that looked suspiciously like one of Grant. Her hair was tied back, but strands of gold escaped, framing a face that was flushed with life.
Is there enough for a man who just woke up from a coma?
The room went quiet for a heartbeat. Rhiannon turned, the spatula freezing in her hand. Her green eyes locked onto his, and he felt that familiar hum, not a drag, not a hook, but a steady, warm resonance. It was the difference between a drowning man grasping a rope and two people holding hands.
You are awake.
I am. And I am starving.
Grant kicked out a chair at the table, grinning. He looked less burdened, the lines of worry around his eyes smoothed out by the relief of having his mother back.
Sit down, Sleeping Beauty. We were about to send a search party to the guest room.
I was about to poke you with a stick. You were sleeping so hard, you didn't even move when I dropped a wrench earlier.
Desmond sat, accepting a mug of coffee from Sloane. She squeezed his shoulder, her way of acknowledging the insane reality he had dragged them all through.
You look human. The dark circles are gone.
I feel human. It is a strange sensation.
Rhiannon plated the food and brought it to the table, sitting directly across from Desmond. She didn't eat immediately. She just watched him, her gaze intense and predatory in a way that had nothing to do with hunting and everything to do with adoration.
Do you miss it? The forest.
No. The forest was beautiful, but it was lonely. I prefer the kitchen.
Rhiannon smiled, and it was a wolfish thing, sharp and brilliant. She reached across the table and took his hand, ignoring her son's exaggerated eye roll.
Please keep the interdimensional romance to a PG rating while I am eating.
Hush, Grant. Eat your eggs.
They ate in a comfortable rhythm. The tension that had defined Desmond's life, the separation between his waking self and his dreaming self, was gone. He was whole. He watched Rhiannon laugh at something Sloane said, seeing the way her movements were still fluid and graceful, a remnant of the creature she had been. She hadn't lost the wolf, she had integrated it. After breakfast, while Grant and Sloane argued over who would wash the dishes, Rhiannon signaled for Desmond to follow her. They stepped out onto the back porch, into the cool air of Allendra's autumn. The backyard was overgrown, a testament to her years of mental absence, but the wildness of it seemed fitting now.
I can still feel the edges of Somnium. It is like a memory of a song I used to know. But it is fading.
That is good. We do not need it anymore.
I was afraid that when the connection broke, when the dream ended, I was afraid you would look at me and just see a middle-aged woman with a messy garden. That the magic would be gone.
Desmond stepped closer, resting his hands on the railing beside hers. He looked out at the tangled vines and the distant skyline of the colony.
The magic wasn't the silver trees or the star pool, Rhiannon. It was you. It was seeing you clearly when everyone else just saw a shadow. That hasn't changed.
She turned to him, her expression serious. The wind caught her hair, whipping it across her face, and for a second he saw the overlay of the red wolf, the fierce protector who had raced him through the dark.
Grant tells me you have a job in the city. An apartment. A life that you put on hold to chase me.
A life that was empty. I was going through the motions.
And now,
Now I have a reason to wake up.
She moved into his space, her hands resting on his chest, over the heart that had stopped beating for a full minute to save her.
I am not an easy woman, Desmond. I have spent years running wild in my own head. I have claws I haven't quite figured out how to retract yet.
Good. I am not looking for easy. I am looking for the partner who can keep up with me.
She laughed, a low, throaty sound that vibrated against his ribs.
You think you can keep up with me in the real world? No flying, no super speed.
I think I can handle a walk in the park.
The back door opened, and Grant stepped out, wiping his hands on a towel. He leaned against the doorframe, watching them with a look of resigned acceptance.
Sloane is threatening to dismantle the dishwasher if I do not help her. Are you two going to be okay out here, or do I need to supervise?
We are good, Grant.
Good. Because, Mom, it is really good to see you. Actually, you.
Rhiannon looked at her son, her eyes softening. She stepped away from Desmond to hug Grant, pulling him down so she could kiss his cheek. It was a fierce, protective embrace, the kind only a mother who had fought her way back from the brink could give.
I am not going anywhere, Grant. Not ever again.
Grant nodded, clearing his throat to hide the emotion in his voice, and retreated back inside. Desmond and Rhiannon were left alone in the sunlight.
So, what happens now?
Now, we do the hardest thing of all.
What is that?
We live. We pay taxes, we weed the garden, we figure out what to make for dinner. We do all the boring, wonderful things that belong to the living.
Desmond took her hand again, interlacing their fingers. The psychic link was quiet, a dormant line that hummed with contentment rather than need. The hunt was over, but the journey was just starting.
Sounds like an adventure.
The best kind.
She leaned in and kissed him. It wasn't the desperate, life-saving kiss of the dream world, nor the tentative first connection. It was solid. It tasted of coffee and promise. As they pulled apart, Desmond looked up at the sky above Alundra. It was vast and blue, devoid of silver cracks or velvet shadows. It was real. And for the first time in his life, reality was exactly where he wanted to be.